second biggest monkey head I've ever seen.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Can I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Hello and welcome to the 59th episode of PvA Radio. I am your host, Luke Croft. Joining me, as always, he has a Google search certified, ladies and gentlemen, Larry Hunt.
That's right. In the year of our Lord 2012, I took a class and Google gave me a certificate. So I can Google search very good.
So this is Google 2012?
Yeah, man. I know a lot's changed.
Yeah, dude. Nah, you gotta re-up that thing.
Like any good professional, I've stayed on top of things. I've continued to learn. I've continued my professional development.
So you've maintained your relevant certifications then, and you continue to keep it up to date.
I've allowed it to lapse. Okay.
All right. Well, we were gonna hire you, but it appears you've lied on your resume lately. Said no hiring manager ever because they don't look that hard. All right. None of us would have jobs if they looked into our resumes.
Thanks for supplying these references we didn't call.
Oh, dude. When also Cody's not here with us tonight, so you know what that means, boys and girls.
It's off the rails.
Yeah, meandering. Dude, yeah, we called references when we were hiring people at Deciphered when I ran that joint. So mostly because it was just like, we're gonna leave you in here with cash and trust you to run this joint. So should probably call.
As someone who works with teenagers, I have no idea how many kids have messaged me and be like, "Hey man, can I put you as a reference on this job application?" And I always say yes. And not once have I ever been called.
Oh, really? You've never had a... Yeah. I've been called twice. And one time, I won't get into all the details, but one time I was not asked if I could be put as a reference. And yeah, they should have. Because I'm not gonna lie for you, you know. So yeah, you should, boys and girls, always ask the people you are about to put down as a reference, because they may not hold the same opinion about you as you may believe they hold. So that's what happened in my case. Larry, I need to tell you something, and I've been holding on to this until we got on the air.
Oh no.
I have made the single greatest purchase of my entire life. All right. That bath pillow that I ordered from Amazon has added a level of high class comfort to my life that I never understood was missing before. And now I wonder how I ever got this far without it.
You're absolutely right. I bought the same bath pillow.
Did you?
Yeah,
dude, it was so cheap. It was like $18.
Yeah. So we've always had one, but it was a little inflatable thing and it broke. And we've been without it for like 3 weeks. And once you've had a bath with a pillow, when you lay your head on the cold hard plastic again, it does not work. But this thing, it is a next step level of comfort.
And that's the thing. To me, it's not about, I mean, look, the cushion is great and the comfort in that regard is awesome. But the worst part about taking a bath is I get the water scorching hot, but then there's this moment where I must lean back onto the freezing cold porcelain of our tub, and it's jarring and it's uncomfortable. Whereas this pillow, you got a little bit of it in the water, so it warms the entire thing. And so when you lean back onto it, no coldness, no shock to the body here. So yeah, I am very, very pleased with my purchase there. What? You own a jetted tub. Let's talk about how fucking rich Larry is for a moment here. Larry rents a house that has a jetted tub. Let's put it that way. He doesn't own the jetted tub. So
Larry got cut a good deal on the house that he rents where the jetted tub resides.
So you live a life of luxury, at least when it comes to your amenities in that regard. what other things do I need to be equipping my bathroom with in order to maximize my relaxation in the bathtub? Because I feel like this is a secret. You've known I've taken baths for a long time, and you have not let me in on this, and I'm a little upset with you about it.
Well, I never took baths until the jetted tub was a factor. Like, and I don't think I would like just sit in the bathtub. But I love the jets, my dude. So, I mean, obviously you can't add those to your tub, but if you ever get to the position,
I'll just start drilling holes right now.
If you ever get to the position where you can get a jetted tub, get the jetted tub. My wife and I, we talked about buying a house, and every time we're like, oh, but then we won't have that bathtub. I'm not even kidding.
Dude, I'm so when we were house hunting, that first house we actually put an offer in on had a clawfoot tub. And I, to this day, regret not having that, just because, like, clawfoot tub, that shit can be up to your chin while you're sitting upright in it, and it's awesome. But we just have like a standard size tub right now, and next house that we move into will definitely have a much nicer bathtub in it.
Yeah, but I mean, beyond that, it's all about the Epsom salts. Get yourself there's a the I can't remember what it is right now. It's some kind of mint, but at Target, the Target brand, like the teal colored one.
Eucalyptus.
Yeah, eucalyptus mint. That's my favorite. It's my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to deal with the lighting, low lights, candlelight's best.
Mm-hmm. I've never tried it. It's always full blown bathroom lights because we don't have a dimmer or anything. But I feel like I do need to get in on this candlelit bathtub kind of deal. Now, look, is this two 30-year-old men on a podcast talking about taking baths? Yeah, deal with it. If you don't like it, fast forward 5 minutes. If you're watching us live, just put us on mute for the next 5 minutes. We'll be here.
Now, here's what you got to do with the candles. You come to the Woodwick outlet here in my town. And you get the miniature woodwicks because they last surprisingly long, and they'll actually float on your water if you're like curious about that. Yeah, I've tried it, but I just line the edge of my tub with these tiny woodwicks, and it's an experience.
Dude, this is awesome. See, my bath experience is normally I bring this like stool into the bathroom with me, not the bathtub, and I set.
And by stool, you mean the seat? With
yes, the seat. The other kind of stool is what I bring into the tub. And I set my laptop on it, and I either watch esports or regular sports. Like that is my bath experience, and I just sit and scroll through Reddit on my phone.
Nice.
So anyway, this is PvA Radio, where we get together each and every week. Each of us brings one of the biggest gaming news stories of the week to the table. Then we have an in-depth discussion about it. Consider it your collaborative audio feature article, or your CAFA, if you will. And Larry, what do we want people to do with that?
You're going to spend about 45 minutes in your hot bath. And then you're just going to write in the condensation of your window, CAFA, so that the drivers can see and be like, what are those backwards letters? I don't have time to figure it out. And you're also going to spam that emoji in the chat. That's not what it's called.
It's called an emote, you fucking old boomer.
You're going to want to use one of those cafe emoticons.
So I was reading on this really unbiased website called conservativesarewaybetterthanlibtards.com.
You know they can't afford .com. That's something else.
It's .net. We can't pay the $7.99 a year to GoDaddy for the .com version of this shit. Oh, man. We do this every single week over here on twitch.tv/PvA Radio at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And if you can't catch us live, you can watch us the very next day on youtube.com/PvA Radio, where we break it out topic by topic, or you can watch it in its entirety. Or if you just prefer to listen to our voices, you can find us on podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Luminary, where you can also listen to Conan O'Brien, who is revolutionizing the medium.
Some would call him the messiah of the podcast realm.
You think you can talk better into a mic than me?
Well, you can't.
Oh, man. The joke will never die. The joke will never die. One day we'll get Conan.
Like Conan. That guy's like 3,000 years old.
And he looks like he's 35.
Television. Right.
Like, I don't understand it. And there are some celebrities that don't have that. We've been watching Community, which I'll tell you this right now. Lauren hates that show.
Why?
Well, she doesn't like Joel McHale. She doesn't like, and she doesn't like Chevy Chase at all.
So the two characters you're not supposed to like, she dislikes. Like, tell her she's getting it.
But it's not the characters. She just doesn't like them as people. And so, but yeah, speaking of actors who age terribly, Chevy Chase is in Community, and holy shit, I watched that and I'm like, and I know his character is supposed to be like senile and all this stuff, but I'm like, I don't think he's playing very much of this character. I think the character's really playing him.
Yeah.
But,
well, how are you liking it?
oh, dude, I love that show. I've started it a few times, and I'm not even as far as I've ever been into it. But yeah, I like it, and I always forget how much I like it until I start it again. So
I'm gonna have to start rewatching it so we can talk about it.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited, man. A bunch of my shows come back this week. Superstore comes back. The Good Place comes back. We're trashy people who watch the Goldbergs. So let's see. Does Brooklyn Nine-Nine come back this week? Or is
Great
it
question? I don't know.
that may have a mid-season or whatever it's called premiere. Mid-season premiere.
I've got like 3 weeks left to catch up on Supernatural so I can watch this last season. I've got a season and a half to go.
Yeah, you got this, man. How many weeks?
I've been
3?
blazing through it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
dude, yeah, that's fucking that's centuries in binge time.
I'm actually watching it right now if I seem distracted.
Oh man. All right, man. Well, let's get this show started like we get every show started with. What have you been playing, Larry? What have you been playing?
Just Apex and Overwatch. And I don't really have anything new to say about either of those. I've been giving Respawn a lot of crap lately for their financial decisions, but the in-game decisions, like that game it's a great game. And they're about to release the next character, and he's like a hacker type character. And so there have already been these hints in the game of his coming. So when the announcer announces that the ring's closing or that the champion's been killed, like it glitches out and starts to mess up.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. When it first happened, like I started hearing all these weird noises. I'm just spinning around like scared to death, trying to figure out what's about to hit me. So yeah, it's been neat. Go ahead,
dude. Talk as much shit as you want about Fortnite, but Fortnite paved the way for the way that these battle royales do world building, and it's pretty impressive, and it's cool to see other companies iterating on it, and that's cool to hear.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been having fun with that. I want to play more Overwatch, but I just I'm becoming you in the sense that I don't want to play Overwatch when I can't play competitive, but I also don't want to play competitive by myself because I don't trust a whole team of randoms to do anything for me.
Yeah, I need to be more available to play. I feel like I haven't really been playing a whole bunch. Like I've been playing a lot of Madden, just like in the moments where I can pick it up and play it, or when I just want to melt into my couch. But having my streaming set up, and I need to order a new chair, dude. This chair is already falling apart. This thing was a piece of shit. I should have spent good money on a chair and not been like, oh, this one's got good reviews and it's pretty decently priced. Like I need to just go all out, buy a fucking nice chair, so I can kind of redeem my gaming space and get back to playing the games I want to play. But yeah.
Or you install jets in your tub and mount your TV across the room so it can't possibly fall in the bathtub.
Yeah. And stream from the bathtub, get banned on Twitch.
Yes. Well, I mean, you can be fully clothed in the bath.
Oh, man. If I could live in the tub, that'd be great. Like, I refuse to. There are people who, hang TVs in their bathrooms, and those people are what we call awesome. I refuse to do it, though, because I'm like, I will never leave. I'll never leave this room. As you can see, I've shrank in the time of this podcast as well because of the shittiness of my chair. So, yeah. So I've been playing. I hopped on and played some mobile games this week, man, and I'm not very much of a mobile game fan, but I really wanted to jump in and at least explore Apple Arcade. And I downloaded a couple games and started a couple games. And I'll say this. I like what Apple Arcade is trying to do. The curate, and we talked about this at length last week, so I'm not going to rehash a ton of things, but the idea of curating quality mobile gaming experiences, I think, is awesome for Apple. I think it's awesome for mobile developers who are trying to do cool things, and I think it's awesome for mobile gaming at large. But I was just reminded about how much I hate playing games on phone, not because of, microtransactions or any of those shitty tactics like we talked about with Gears Tactics or whatever it was called.
Well, not exclusively for those reasons.
Well, and it's not for those reasons for the things that are in Apple Arcade, because Apple Arcade doesn't have those. But just mobile controls. Like, there was a fighting game that I played, and the fighting game looks awesome, but it's just like, playing this on mobile sucks. Mm-hmm. And maybe, a lot of controllers now will connect via Bluetooth to your phone, and so I can probably play some of these with the controller. Maybe I just need to try to do that.
Probably. And I think most recent Xbox controllers have that capability.
Yeah, they do. I ordered one this week, which I'm going to show you here on stream. And so if you're listening on audio, I apologize. So I ordered the Fortnite controller, and I talked about this on the Nightly Rundown last night.
Awesome purple controller.
This awesome purple controller. Check this out. I haven't shown you yet, have I?
No, we've talked about it.
And I know that you're not getting a full sense of the color here on the camera probably, but I have this black Switch controller as well to put next to it.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks straight up black.
Yeah. So I'm pretty disappointed in it because and you can tell, like, I think the back plate on this is even black. So, and you can't distinguish between that and the shell. Like, the buttons you can tell are purple, and you can tell that the shell's purple in certain lights, but I don't know. I was expecting it to be more purple, and I was very disappointed. But yeah, I think it does have Bluetooth, and I can connect it to my phone. And I think PlayStation controllers do as well now. So, I also played a little bit of Mario Kart Tour this morning, and I was like, the controls for this are just wacky. Like, the way that you steer and drift, and it just felt clunky. I'm sure it just takes some time to get used to, but then I was reading stories about how, like, there's a subscription service for Mario Kart Tour to, like, get all of the stuff in Mario Kart Tour that costs more per year than Apple Arcade does per year. And there's like 79 more games in Apple Arcade than there are in Mario Kart Tour. So, yeah. Huh. and it's a strange choice, but then you look at how, like, Mario Run, for as good as people said that game was, people weren't willing to pay the whatever $5, $6 to purchase the whole game. And so it makes sense that Nintendo is like, all right, well, let's try something else, like figure out something else that works monetization wise. And, you're going to miss a lot of times on that stuff. And I think the monetization for that is definitely a miss. Did you see that Google came out with their competitor for Apple Arcade?
I didn't look into that. Did they just announce it, or is it something that I could go try?
I think it's something you can go try. I think it released. So it's called Google Play Pass, and it actually has some, like, some games that you can play on consoles and stuff too on it. So it's got, like, Stardew Valley, Limbo's on there. You should play Limbo. I think you'd like Limbo. Yeah. So it had more games I'd heard of than Apple Arcade does, but yeah, you're a Pixel boy, so right? You've got the Google Pixel, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Pixel 2.
Nice. I've been thinking, dude. I think I told you about going to Walmart to buy an Apple Watch, and they didn't have it. And I was like, all right, well, I guess that means... Oh, did I not tell you that?
So, I don't remember it.
I decided I was going to get an Apple Watch, but I decided I was only going to get an Apple Watch if the Walmart near my house had it in stock. And so I went, and long story short, the guy was like, let me go check it in the back. I'll be back in a minute. I was like, can you not just check your computer to see which ones you have in stock? And he was like, it'll just be quicker for me to go back. 20 minutes later, he comes out and is like... Yeah, I think we may be all out. I was like, do you think you may be all out, or are you all out? And he's like, I think we're out. I was like, can you check your computer, man? He's like, no, we're just all out. And I was like, okay, well, that's a sign that I don't need an Apple Watch. So I am foregoing the purchase of an Apple Watch, and I'm to the point now where I'm like, kind of in the need for a new laptop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about, I'm almost due for another upgrade on my phone. I love playing on my PC, like my desktop. Do I just make the leap and go PC, laptop, and Google phone? Because I really like the Google phones, and you really like your phone, right?
Yeah, I love this thing. And this one, I mean, they're about to drop the Pixel 4, so this one's kind of old by this point, but I'm not having any problems with it. The camera, I bought it for the camera, basically. Mm-hmm. The camera's great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I am on the phone front. I'm thinking, and the Play Pass thing looks really cool, and that's definitely not like a deciding factor or anything, but it's something to add to the pile.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe. All right, let's jump into our topics, Larry. And you are going to kick us off tonight. What is your topic?
All right, so my topic has to do with Call of Duty Modern Warfare that's about to come out. And I got this from an article on Kotaku. A Modern Warfare game option is PS4 exclusive until October 18 by Luke Plunkett.
Until October 2020.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I read the URL instead of the title. I'm very tired. But the short version of the story is, as you may be aware, Call of Duty is about to release a new game called Modern Warfare. And a lot of people have been excited because they're bringing back a game mode from the past called Spec Ops. And it's like an episodic story-based game, but attached to that game mode is a game mode called Survival, which is essentially Horde mode in Call of Duty. Now, this game mode, this sub-game mode of Survival is going to be exclusive to PlayStation 4 for 1 year. And it's important to understand that that means that it's exclusive until the next Call of Duty's coming out.
Yes.
And so I don't know where to start here. Like I don't expect us to have widely varying opinions here, but when you first saw this news, what was your reaction?
Well, my first reaction was what you've already stated. Like, there's going to be another Call of Duty by then. And I feel like that's an important thing to note. And I've had a lot of time to think about this story today, because really all I do is think about whatever Larry's topic is going to be for the week. Because I want to do him proud when we get to his moment in the show.
Good.
So I've been thinking about it today, and I'm like, to me, it's less about the mode, because the mode represents a very small portion of the game. But what doesn't make sense to me is the narrative that Activision has been trying to create around Modern Warfare. And again, I talked about this a little bit on the Nightly Rundown last night, so forgive me for repeating some stuff I mentioned there. But Modern Warfare's marketing has been all about like, oh, we're tearing down walls. There's crossplay. You can play with anybody on any platform, and it's not just Xbox to PC, but Xbox to PS4 as well. Like, oh, you remember how we used to do 1 month of exclusivity for the maps on PlayStation 4? No more of that. All the maps are coming at the very same time to all platforms. Like, it was all about uniting the platforms and moving together. And that move and that messaging has served them extremely well. We are forgetting, I think, that just a mere, how many years ago was it that the Call of Duty trailer, I think it was for either Infinite or I think it was Infinite Warfare, was like the most downvoted video in YouTube history. You remember that? That was what, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah, it wasn't that long. It's actually a Guinness record.
Oh, is it? I saw the EA had the most downvoted comment for their Battlefront 2 response.
Maybe I'm mixing those things up.
But I do know that this Call of Duty video at one point was the most disliked video on YouTube. And maybe when I hand this back over to you, I'll go look up what that video was. But regardless of which video it was not very long ago that the brand of Call of Duty was just in the dump in terms of the conversation happening around it. It still continued to sell very well, is always at the top of the charts in any year that there isn't a new GTA that comes out. And so it never really faltered in that regard, but they've done a great job with Modern Warfare of rebuilding their goodwill with fans, and it's all due to this narrative of we're unifying platforms, we're breaking down barriers, and then for them to just come out with something like this, where yes, in the grand scheme of things, it means very, very little, but I just think it undoes a lot of that work, and it like has become a conversation point that just feels like old Call of Duty, old Activision, just chasing whatever the next dollar is. Like it's I don't know. It was a strange move for Activision, and it's a strange move for Sony too, who's combated a lot of the narrative that Sony doesn't care about gamers because they just exclusivity, not willing to adopt crossplay, yada yada yada. So it flies in the face of two messages that have been really going in a positive direction for both companies.
Yeah, I had totally forgotten about that messaging, to be honest with you. But now that you lay it out there, like it makes absolutely zero sense. And when I first saw this story, like I literally just laughed at it. It's just a hilariously bad move. And like we've been saying, it's particularly egregious to. It's not like you're taking it off limits for a month. It's for a whole year. It's for the life cycle of a Call of Duty game. You may as well not even release the mode on Xbox ever. Mm-hmm. I know that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but people who are into Call of Duty, okay, yeah. People who are into Call of Duty, when the next game comes out, they're buying the next game, and that's the one that they play. Mm-hmm. So yeah. What really struck me though was this messaging of, look, you're not losing a game mode, you're losing a mode within a game mode. Does that even matter?
I don't think it does for two reasons. Number one, so wait, hold on, did I miss something? Did they actually say something like that, like officially?
I don't. It may be unfair of me to say that, but I've been seeing this a lot across social media and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's a game mode in a game mode.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't matter really to me at all, because look, I'm gonna tell you, like Wu told me. All right, cash rules everything around me. And that's what this is all about. And it's so strange. Like, if this means so little to the game overall, then why hide the exclusivity behind a wall like this? I mean, why hide the mode behind an exclusivity wall like this that was clearly paid for by Sony? And like, why does Sony even fucking care?
Yeah.
Enough to pay for it, you know? Like, so that logic is bunk to me, just because there'd be no reason for this to exist if at the end of the day it was just a mode that doesn't matter. But I also think, more than it not mattering, I think it gets in the way somewhat of the marketing for the game, not because of all the things I just said, but just because with it being a mode inside of a mode, it uses the name of the top level mode to describe itself. And so for people who aren't really doing their research, they may think to themselves, and you know, people are excited about Spec Ops coming back, Special Ops coming back, and so for them to say like, hey, Special Ops survival mode is exclusive, there may be a lot of people who see the signage, who see the messaging, who see these articles and misinterpret it and think, oh shit, well, I can't play the Special Ops mode if I'm on Xbox. And while that's not true, it's about the perception, and I think that Sony knows that. I think that's why you pay for it, not for the mode inside the mode, but for, you know, that, like, we talked about a lot about perceived exclusivity when you talk about like platform marketing deals, where it's like, this game's coming everywhere, but everywhere you see it, it only shows the Xbox case or whatever. Like the perceived exclusivity. This is perceived exclusivity in a different direction of people are just going to see exclusive Spec Ops mode, and they're going to assume it's the entire mode and not just the mode within the mode.
Yeah. For a lot of people, they were really hyped about the Spec Ops mode in particular. Do you feel like this guts that excitement a little bit, or is this like a minor enough thing that
Yeah, I don't think it guts the excitement for the mode for people who understand what is and isn't exclusive. And honestly, I mean, PlayStation is going to continue to be the biggest platform that this game is played on, as we at least from a console perspective. And so I don't think it really dampens anything in that regard, because the people who are excited about Spec Ops, it's called Special Ops. I keep saying Spec Ops, and I think that may be confusing.
I keep saying Spec Ops. It's my fault.
Because Spec Ops is an actual game too. So, the people who are excited about Special Ops are likely the people who are just really big Call of Duty fans in general, I think. You okay, man?
I don't know.
I keep worrying that a ghost is like wandering around your house or something. And so
basically. Yeah, anyway, the special ops mode, it's weird to me that the survival mode is nested under special ops. It's such a distinct thing, and they're making it exclusive to one console. I'm just kind of like, why is this thing here? Mm-hmm. This story just jumped out at me because it was just such a weird story. But at the end of the day, do you think this is going to affect the game, the sales of the game? Do you think this is going to impact Activision, or is this just going to be something that we complain about on the internet, but it doesn't really do anything?
Look, there's not a thing that is going to impact the sales of this game. I mean, I would love to see the breakdown of. I'd love to see the number of people who only buy Call of Duty every year. Like, think about how much is available that's free to play. You know, when you're talking like Apex, you're talking Fortnite, you're talking Warframe, you're talking, there's a lot of great free to play stuff. I would love to see the percentage of people who buy Call of Duty. How many of them is this the only game that they buy every year? Those people aren't keeping up with this shit. And I would imagine that it is a very big number. And if people are buying more other games outside of Call of Duty, it's going to be a lot of Maddens. It's going to be a lot of 2Ks. It's going to be a lot of Grand Theft Auto. It's like, and I'm saying casual without saying casual, I guess. But those are not the kinds of people who are like listening to this podcast or reading this Kotaku article or even watching these Sony state of plays where shit like this gets revealed.
Yeah, I think you're right. I didn't think you were right at first. Now, at the end of the day, I think this will skew the sales a little more toward PlayStation than they would have been before. But I don't think it's going to wreck the game by any means. Mm-hmm. But is this going to bring negative publicity? Like, to what extent is this going to undercut Activision and all the positive publicity they've been garnering? Do you think this will put a dent in that at all?
Yeah. I mean, I think that was kind of my point at the top of the topic was, I think it undercuts some of the stuff that they've done. I don't know if it's enough to impact the public perception. I think even just in reading reactions to this story, seeing the number of people coming to the defense of Call of Duty in this just seems a little, that has not been the experience over the last few years. Yeah.
I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on my head.
Yeah, boy.
But I wonder if this decision, I wonder if there was some leftover exclusivity deal they were still beholden to with PlayStation. And this was a way to fulfill that while also moving in the direction of tearing down the walls.
Oh, that's actually a really good point, Larry, that I had not thought of.
Wow.
I feel bad that I said actually, as if you don't make good points every time we do the show.
Look,
but
it's all right.
That's actually something I hadn't considered, that was Call of Duty contractually obligated to have something exclusive, and this was literally the smallest piece of the pie that they could give. Because you can't give a gun. You can't say, hey, this gun, because everybody's playing with everybody and you don't want to seem to give people an advantage. It can't be a map. I guess it could have been skins or, some sort of customization option like that, but maybe there's something within their obligation that says it has to be a game mode or something. So that's actually, that's interesting. I'd be interested to know if that's actually the case.
Yeah, I'd like to know too, because again, it's so weird.
But a year.
Yeah, and for me that like explains the year as well, because like I could see PlayStation Sony being like, well, look, if we're not going to have anything like major exclusive, it's just going to be a little game mode. Like, we want the game mode. But we're just in tinfoil hat wild speculation territory. So don't take my word as news.
Well, look, and this is not the first egregious console exclusivity stuff we've seen from Activision. I mean, Destiny had ridiculous console exclusivity for specific items. That I think if they didn't go over a year, they came pretty close to a year with certain pre-order exclusive guns and console exclusive maps and things like that.
Yeah, like by the time you had access to them on Xbox, they were totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
There's no reason to go after them outside of just collecting everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have to say about that. I had to talk about that story because it's not I don't know that it's a huge news story, but it's such a strange one to me.
Yeah.
A whole year, like for the life of this game, you cannot play this mode if you're on Xbox.
Well, Larry, I'm going to be taking over Cody's topic as well, and so I'm going to leave it to you. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Sony, or do you want to start with Xbox from yesterday?
Let's start with Sony.
All right, let's start with Sony. So Sony had their State of Play yesterday. I'm not going to go through this shit announcement by announcement just because there's stuff I know you don't care about. There's stuff I know I don't care about. So I want to hit some big highlights. First of all, did you have a chance to watch any of Sony's State of Play?
I did not. I've spent all of my free time on something else. I'm really sorry. I've been real obsessed with a particular thing going on right now, and I should have gone to watch it. I will watch it before this week's over. I've just been very excited about something.
All right. So let me just hit on a couple of the biggest things, and I'll save the biggest of them all for last. So, they showed off a lot of smaller titles. They had a weird not weird. I don't want to say weird. But they had a VR sizzle reel, and they revealed the LA Noire VR case files was available to download yesterday. And then they announced like Civ 6 is coming to the PS4. They announced a Medieval remake demo that if you complete will give you in-game items when the full game launches at the end of October. They announced the PS Plus lineup for next month, which will be The Last of Us Remastered and MLB The Show 19. I'm excited about MLB The Show 19, but that's only because I've owned The Last of Us forever. But that's a pretty good lineup, I think. The most recent baseball game and The Last of Us Remastered. They also showed off a cool Death Stranding limited edition PlayStation 4. Have you seen pictures of this yet, Larry?
I did not go and look at it.
Well, it should be. There should be pictures in this article that Cody posted. If not, just if you can Google it because it's really cool looking actually. So it's a PlayStation 4 Pro. So the PlayStation itself is white on top with the baby handprints on the top, and then the tiers alternate white, black, white, and it has Death Stranding etched in gold on the front plate of the black panel on the front. So the console is cool, but then
this is really cool.
The controller is translucent gold to mimic the BB container that you carry on the front of yourself. So they revealed that it's going to be $399, and it's available for pre-order now. So I'm a sucker for hardware, man.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
I'm sorry. The controller is neat, but it just kind of grows out, to be honest. Because like what's in that container? It's amniotic fluid, right?
I would guess. So there was a photoshopped version of the controller going around that had the actual baby in it as well. I was like, all right, that'd have been real dope if they'd have figured out like how to remove some components and actually get that baby, or if they figured out. So have you seen the Gears 5 special edition console?
Yes.
So it has this really cool effect on it where they made it look as if the skull is actually trapped beneath ice. So it would have been cool if they figured out like how to do something with the casing that actually makes it look like the baby is in there without having to actually have like a figurine in it.
Yeah.
But no dice. We didn't end up getting that.
They did their best.
Yeah, they did their best. I'm a little sad Cody can't make it because I'm sure he's got some thoughts on this. I want to give some just general thoughts about the state of play before we get to the bigger news here.
Okay.
State of play is weird, and people need to recognize that it's weird and stop putting unrealistic expectations on this shit, because people across the internet were disappointed by everything except for the Last of Us reveals that we got. Like,
yeah,
I think Sony's done a pretty good job across these first three of setting the expectations of what they're going to show within them. And they're not many E3s like people expect them to be. They're literal quarterly touch points where they're going to be able to communicate key messaging to us, and yes, be able to expand on information without necessarily going on full-blown reveals of certain things. And so, like, I think that should be set at the top. So everybody who watches these and baby rages because we didn't get fucking Ghost of Tsushima footage and release dates and a roadmap for the rest of the year or whatever the hell you were expecting, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 and all that shit, like, just get over it. That's not what these events I think are for. But the format, man. So when they announced that this was coming, they said, like, hey, sorry it's been a while. We've been working behind the scenes to have update the look of the state of play, which is funny because they'd only had 2 before.
Yeah.
And I agree that it needed an overhaul in the way that this was delivered, but the way that they overhauled it just was not even remotely what I thought needed to be fixed. So they changed it to where it had like this slide feature where between announcements it would like show the title card for the game they just talked about, and then it would scroll to the left and it would reveal the next game it was going to talk about. But that to me was really the only thing that changed. Like, it was still, have you watched any of the state of plays?
Yeah, I think I've watched the other 2, but like I can't remember them.
Yeah,
I'm bad at remembering the specifics of these things.
Well, it's very yeah, and it's fine. It's just very much like a disembodied voice that's like, oh, great, can't wait to play this coming from this studio. Now on to the next announcement, and like roll the next trailer. Yeah. And so it's really just Sony has entered this stage, and I think we've seen this also not quite as severely with Xbox at like E3, but this idea that it's got to be trailer, and it ends up almost playing like a YouTube playlist more than an event where we're supposed to be learning information about games.
Yeah.
And that's what I was hoping that they meant when they were like, we're coming back with a new look. I was hoping it would be a little more personal, a little less playlisty, I guess.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I wonder if they've kind of backed themselves into that corner though, because of how this generation started and even how it carried on. Just PlayStation has been able to hammer Xbox for its lack of games, and a lot of the way they did that was just at E3, just boom, look at all this stuff that's coming, and it became a point where Xbox was ridiculed for its lack of that. And I wonder if we're just kind of in a place where they feel like they have to be hitting us with this big stream.
Yeah, well, and it's been like that at E3 for them outside of the last E3 they were at, where they were like, we're going to change sets in between game announcements. Like,
everyone meander over to this castle.
They went, we're going to funnel you guys into this makeshift church that we created, and nobody's going to know what the fuck's going on. So it's one extreme or the other, I guess. But yeah, that's a good point. Like, I think it's, especially in the beginning of a generation, there's just so little to talk about, like so little that you want to reveal because it may be far off, that you add fluff in. And I think also like live streaming these events and the live reactions that we're getting from people, both in creating YouTube videos and also just the fact that there's a scrolling chat next to these in any of the platforms they're watched on. And, you know, you start taking too long between announcements and just resident sleepers in chat. And I'm sure that they see like, hey, when we bring a developer out, the engagement on these videos drops. Like the people talking about them, people maybe even watching them. So I'm sure that there's some strategy behind it. But to me, like, I'm not a trailer guy for the most part. Like, that's not how I connect with games. I want to hear people talking about them. I love listening to the creators talk about these games. And we lose a lot of that in these Sony ones. And it just, when you're not showing trailers for games I'm not interested in, it just seems really, really boring. And it's even more damning when you're talking about games I am interested in. And I feel like, damn, this is boring, and that's how I feel about these state of plays. But let's talk about The Last of Us. Big news, February 21st, 2020. That's when we're going to be able to play it.
You were so close.
I was so close. I said February 14th. February 14th. It was a Friday. The 21st is a Friday also, obviously. But that was also the date that Horizon Zero Dawn came out. So I was like, they're just going to lean into this Valentine's Day shit. There's this story arc about Ellie and her girlfriend in the game. I was like, they're going to lean into this. 21st, man. They have shown a lot of this game, man. And they have shown, in my opinion, entirely too much about this game. And I'm glad that you and I had a chance to talk before the show, so the spoiler I'm talking about. And anybody who has watched the trailer knows the spoiler I'm talking about. I'm not going to actually say the spoiler on here in case there are people who are intelligent, unlike me, who have gone on media blackout from this and refused to watch the trailer and just went for to see the release date. I would have been fine if they were just like, all right, guys, The Last of Us Remastered coming to PlayStation Plus. And one final thing, Last of Us Part 2 coming out February 21st, 2020. Now get the fuck out of here. I'd have been perfectly fine with that. But instead, they showed a long-ass trailer that had a big-ass spoiler in it. And I was very, very disappointed by it, Larry. So I guess to loop you into this conversation. Oh, go ahead. You were going to loop yourself in.
I have a thought about that. And if you're avoiding spoilers, you may want to avoid me from. I'm not going to spoil it, but you may be able to piece it together from what I'm saying. So you may want to skip ahead like 20, 30 seconds. But I wonder if this spoiler was a deliberate decision, because I wonder if the way that we were piecing together the first trailer was not the way they intended us to piece it together. And I wonder if this was an attempt to avoid the Halo 5 trap of showing us something that told us that this was going to be one kind of story when it wasn't. So that was my thought. That's the only thing I can think of that makes sense. If that's not what they were trying to do, this was a really bad move.
Yeah, well, and I know we're talking a little bit in code here, but really, like, I don't. If you avoid it, I don't want to be the reason why this gets spoiled for you. So, yeah, and there's always the thing of like, hey, we may be interpreting all this shit wrong. But the way that they did it seemed like a reveal of the information in a way that I don't think it could have really been misinterpreted. Larry, what's kind of your approach to games, especially story driven, that you're excited about? Like, do you go on media blackout for these things, or do you kind of just voraciously consume all content that comes pre-release?
When I was younger, I just voraciously consumed all of the content. And as I've gotten older, my feelings on spoilers changed, and there would have been a time where I'm avoiding those spoilers. And now I think I'm back to where I'll just enjoy the game for what it is, and I'll probably just look at whatever I come across. But largely, the games that I'm consuming these days, it's an irrelevant conversation because so little of what I play is story driven. It's really rare for that to be the thing that I'm excited about. The only exception to that in recent memory is the Man of Medan. The Man of Medan, and
the Mon of Medan.
The Mon of Medan. It's like, is it Sean Bean or Sean Bean? Like,
yeah, come on, pick a lane.
Anyway, but that one was kind of moot because the whole idea of that game is there are multiple potential stories. So, yeah, I don't know. It's not a big deal to me, but I understand why it is for people.
Why do you think we're kind of in this culture now of, because this isn't just a video game thing, where you've got 5 different trailers that just show you way too much. This is in movies. It's somewhat in television shows as well. There seems to be really no caution in what's shown in pre-release material for this sort of stuff. Like, why do you think that is?
I don't know. And to be honest, it just makes zero sense to me. When you look back at trailers from when we were growing up, like trailers used to, like, they would give you an idea of the type of story you were getting, but they didn't give you, like, there are so many movies these days that you can just piece the whole story together from the trailers. You can just get the whole beat for beat path. Avengers was a really refreshing thing in recent memory, just because you thought you were seeing a lot, and then once you got into that movie, into Endgame is what I'm talking about. Once you got into that movie, like 10 minutes in, you're through everything that you thought the whole movie was going to be about. But that's an exception to the rule. Like, and I don't understand it, because I think the mystery would draw more people in. Like, there are movies that I consciously decide not to see because I'm at the theater, I see this preview, and I'm like, well, I know everything that's happening. Why would I come to that?
Yeah. Well, I guess the way around that is you take the Slenderman approach, where you show a very big plot point in the trailer, and then you just leave the story actually completely unresolved in the movie itself.
Just yank that plot point right out.
This character's closure matters absolutely none. We know we show her death in the trailer. No need to do it in the movie.
If you want to see her ending, YouTube it.
I have some thoughts about why we're like this, and it is because of the YouTube generation. And it is because of the frame-by-frame breakdowns, and because of the reactions, and because of the theory crafting and the predictions and all the shit that we get into with the media that we interact with, where it becomes a lifestyle, and people have built their brands and their livelihoods even on these really niche markets of like, hey, I am the Final Fantasy. I joke about these people all the time on the Nightly Rundown. These guys who like can watch a trailer for a game and go frame by frame and be like, oh shit, you see this thing in the background at 236? That looks like the silhouette of this character who appeared 2 games before this that we never really knew what happened to him, but they haven't really made a big deal out of him since. Maybe he's coming back. Like, that kind of shit just gets eaten up by people on the internet, and it gets a ton of engagement. I mean, think about the Star Wars movies. And
I was going to go there. I did that to my wife the other day. I kept hitting pause and being like, see, those are not First Order Star Destroyers. Those are Imperial.
Oh my gosh, he's one of those nerds, boys and girls. Larry's got his YouTube channel. He's got his fucking magnifying glass looking at the screen. He's like, all right, we're going to zoom and enhance NCIS style here.
Now the blur there at 238 3/4 of a second.
But think about the free promotion and publicity you get from those videos. If you are Marvel, if you are Disney, if you are Naughty Dog, because while you and I can be measured in our consumption prior to the release of a piece of media we're excited about, there are others who have zero self-control within it and want to consume every bit of thing. And look, if that's you, more power to you. Like, perfectly fine by me. I personally would have much rather not known what was revealed in this trailer prior to going into this game. And if you get excited about it, having seen it in the trailer, that's fine. But Naughty Dog understands that, hey, every single trailer is going to get tons of news articles. It's going to get tons of reaction videos. It's going to get tons of breakdown, and people are going to talk about this shit, and we're not going to have to pay a dime for it. We just release the video out into the wild, and everything after that. It's called earned media, Larry. Earned media. It's big. It's huge in marketing. Yeah. Earned media is the most valuable media that you can find because you don't pay a dime for it, but people push it and create it, and that can be positive or negative. And with trailers, it's pretty much all goodwill, you know?
Yeah. But I wonder if there's a risk with the backlash that comes from like building into that culture. I understand that there's a lot of benefit from it, but The Last Jedi, I think, is a great example of that. I think a lot of, and I know like people want to roast me on this, but the angry portion of Star Wars fans on the internet will come for me. But a lot of the backlash to that movie was not legitimate backlash. It was backlash to Disney did not go with the theory that I thought this movie was going to be. and I just can't have them going the direction that going anywhere other than the direction that I wanted it to go.
Yeah. Well,
So go ahead.
Well, you also run into people who, and this is what happened with the Game of Thrones stuff. People just created better theories and better stories than what was actually delivered, and that's another risk you run into.
Yeah. So I at the end of the day, like, visibility is better than the negative messaging, right?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10. And so I'm sure it's still worthwhile for these companies to build into that arena of the internet, but there's definitely a backlash that's going to come from.
Yeah. And another negative I see that comes from it is just how many times this was big, like in the days of, well, like at the height of The Walking Dead for me, where there's source material, but they deviate from that source material, and people are really keen about figuring out where the connections are and where they're not. And how many times would you be like reading I like to go on Reddit and read the episode discussion threads and stuff like that after an episode airs of a show that I like.
Yeah.
And how many times have you been reading a thread like that and somebody just straight up beat for beat predicts what's going to happen in the next episode, and it just feels a little ruined for you? And it's not a spoiler because, hey, they were just theory crafting and, predicting, but they just connected the dots so well. And I think that can happen with these trailers as well.
That happened to me with a close friend of mine. The last episode I ever watched, we all used to get together and eat a meal and watch the show. And
he's talking about The Walking Dead. Sorry, you cut out when you said the show.
Sorry, yeah. It was the episode where they introduced Negan and my friend Luke Croft. That's said,
me, baby.
You know how they've been running this show this season, right? Like the way this episode ends is we watch from a first person's perspective as Negan hits them in the head with a bat, blood drips down, and we don't find out who died till next season. And I said, they won't do that. If they do that, I'll never watch this show again. And of course, I never watched that show again.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, it was telegraphed. But when you put out so much content, people start to connect those dots, and I think that it can ruin the experience in ways that you didn't intend to, but it just happens. So I am on full media blackout now for The Last of Us Part 2.
And you drain things of the emotion they carry is the other issue. And for me, like, I'm someone that can enjoy a thing over, but it's not going to have the same impact as it first had. And a great example of that for me is in The Force Awakens, when Han and Chewie walk on the Millennium Falcon, and Han looks at Chewie and says, "Chewie, we're home." Like, completely stripped of its impact, because that's in the first trailer, I think, or if not, it's in the second trailer. Yeah. So like, we all knew the line was coming. Oh, cool, they said that thing that we saw was coming. And the spoiler that we've been dancing around in The Last of Us, like, I think this is probably in that same boat. Like, unless they were correcting a mistaken messaging, if this is something that was going to be revealed a little bit into the game and you're questioning whether it was the case, then whatever gravity that moment was going to have, like, it's gone.
Circle Hunter in the chat says, not to be that guy, but season 9 was incredible and definitely worth catching up.
I'm glad that after 3 additional seasons, they finally managed to put the show back together. But I will not watch 3 terrible. I'm saying that, but I've just watched 3 terrible seasons of Supernatural to see how it ends. So I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah, it kind of jumped the shark for me, and it's not necessarily about the quality of it now. It's just the premise of the show lost for The Walking Dead. I lost interest.
And I know we're in the weeds, but I'm gonna stay there for 5 more seconds just to say what I loved about the comic was that it was a story of Carl growing up in the apocalypse, and The Walking Dead just inherently can't be that ever now.
Yeah,
the TV show.
Crazy that the comics are over.
Yeah, I loved how that ended. Right, no telegraphing of. All right, guys, here's the last one.
And everyone was fantastic. Because everybody was like, man, this is just a fucking ATM. He's going to go forever. And all of a sudden, it's just like, I think we're done here. I do want to catch up on the comics. I really did enjoy the comics. Not to be that guy.
No, they were great.
So, all right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about Inside Xbox, because that was the other event that we got yesterday. I want to let me say this here at the top. Like, I want to caution. I want to be cautious in the way we talk about these things. Like, I think we're tempted anytime that there's a countdown, anytime that there's an announcement of an announcement, that we talk about these things as if like this is a big event. Like, our other big event from yesterday was Inside Xbox, and we talk the state of play. It's going to be the next big event for Sony, and I think that even that small bit of language just places unrealistic expectations on these things that can't get met. Like, this was an event. This was something that happened. It is newsworthy. It doesn't have to be big, and I think the announcements that were made throughout kind of proved that it wasn't a big event. But run you through some of the stuff that was shown there. They showed Atlas Pirate MMO. Larry, did you watch the trailer for this or see any of the footage from this?
So I was in a situation where I couldn't have volume, so I literally watched without listening to a little bit of it. But yeah, I liked the meme that you put up. I think it was you that sent me that meme.
Oh, yeah, I tweeted it with Pam Beasley going in, showing Creed the two pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, they're the same picture.
Corporate needs you to find the difference between these two pictures, Atlas and Sea of Thieves. Because I was watching it with sound, and until the title card came up at the end, I was like, this looks weird. Like, it was that uncanny valley kind of thing of, it looks sort of like Sea of Thieves, and I think it is Sea of Thieves because it's a Microsoft event. But like, there was some footage of people walking around that didn't look like Sea of Thieves, but then there was footage of a guy digging in the sand and finding treasure, and I was like, that looks exactly like Sea of Thieves. And there was footage of like a ghost boat that looked exactly like Sea of Thieves, and I was like, yeah. Then it said Atlas. I was like, is this an expansion for Sea of Thieves? And so it got even weirder after, because it turned into like the guy, one of the MCs was like, now you may be looking at this and saying, this looks like Sea of Thieves. So let me bring out the creator to explain how this is different. And look, there are differences in the game. I don't want to sit here and talk as if they're, totally identical. The Atlas seems like a more hardcore kind of approach to the pirate life, where Sea of Thieves can be a little bit more arcadey, cartoony.
I saw some dudes ramp a boat over a mountain. So probably not happening in Atlas.
Yeah. So, but it was just a weird thing for Xbox to be like, we have this game that we've invested a shitload of money into, a shitload of messaging into, a shitload of marketing into. And we could really just use this time to talk about new content that's coming to it. But we're going to not only show you a game that looks like it, but we're going to show you a game that looks so much like it that we have to dedicate time out of this event to explain why they aren't the same.
When I came across it in Twitter, I did not, like, I was like half paying attention. I did not initially put together that this was from the Inside Xbox thing. And I thought that this was PlayStation's answer to Sea of Thieves. And then when I found out that it was on the same platform, this makes no sense. Like, it like, this is not a genre, right, where we need a bunch of games. Like, no one's clamoring, I'm a pirate MMO player. Yeah. Like, I don't know that this was a great choice in what kind of game to release on Xbox in the current environment, but hey, here we are.
And Ubisoft just stepped out of their front porch holding a copy of Skull and Bones in their hand, and they were like, what the fuck, guys, come on. we were trying to get there too, which Atlas has been out, for clarity, it's been out on PC and it's coming to console now.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's how they kicked off the show. And I'm not going in any particular order here. I'm actually pulling this from an article that was put together by I want to give credit where credit's due here. From Chris Kohler over at Kotaku. He put together this little quick rundown that I'm going to run through. They showed some other trailers for Children of Morta, which looks really, really cool. It's like it's a roguelike where there's a cast of characters you get to choose from to play with that have different abilities and stuff. It looked really cool. Code Vein, which is coming out on September 27th. The Outer Worlds, they showed a trailer for October 25th. That's from the creators of Fallout, the Fallout series. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you saw this trailer either, Larry, but very, very Fallout-esque, like 1950s training video. The animations look exactly like Fallout. And look, I get that it's from the creators of Fallout, but Fallout still exists and still has a fan base. And not everybody's going to look at this and realize it's from the creators of Fallout. And I think you're going to hear the word ripoff uttered quite a bit. Not that it's fair, but they didn't try to do too much to evolve from Fallout.
Again, it's about the perception.
Yes. So it still looks cool. I'm still going to play it. After Party, they showed a trailer for that coming on October 29th. Showed a trailer for Tropico 6, which is coming on September 27th. John Bernthal showed up to talk about Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Dude, John
Did he bring his
Bernthal.
doc?
No, he did not. John Bernthal's just fucking cool, dude.
I want to be that guy's friend.
Yeah. He just seems like a chill, down-to-earth guy. He kind of talked about like his method for because he plays the villain in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So he talked a little bit about like the acting motivation behind creating the character that he plays, which I thought was cool because, you know, you get a lot of behind the scenes looks in movies where guys talk about that. But when you start to get behind the scenes looks for video games, it's a lot of like over the shoulder for this animator. And like that stuff's cool to see. But we very rarely get to hear about the acting that takes place in these games. So I thought that was kind of a cool touch point for that
in
game.
That vein, kind of a little rabbit trail, but a really cool thing about the Man of Medan, the Man of Medan, the Mon of Medan, whatever you prefer.
The scene of the bean.
The shot of the beyond. As you play the game, you unlock these documentaries, and you can go in the menu and watch these documentaries. So they've got a documentary on the history of horror anthologies, but some of them are like interviews with the actors who play the characters in this game, and it's really cool. So if you're into that kind of thing, like those things are worth watching, and watching Sean Astin explain how he played this really unlikable guy. Not how he describes him, but that's how it is.
They also announced Hitman 2's Haven Island expansion, which
Sean Ashmore, I said the wrong name.
Oh, I would have never noticed.
My bad.
Then they announced new DLC for Ace Combat 7, a new map for DayZ. They also showed a really cool trailer for a game called, and I keep forgetting the name, for Felix the Reaper, which is a comedy puzzle game about death. And
I love that tagline.
you need to go watch the trailer when you get a chance, because it was they were talking with the creator, showing footage from the game. And it sold me on the game. The game seems really cool. And that's coming October 17th.
I'm already interested in it. So, yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah. And before we get to the bigger news from this, I do want to talk a little bit about the format of Inside Xbox. I connect with it so much better than I do with State of Play. Look, it's cheesy. It's got a lot of scripted banter back and forth. But the people who are doing it seem really excited about doing it. Anytime we get to see Major Nelson, it's awesome because you don't assume he is who he is when you see him. Like, he doesn't look like the typical voice of a game company, but yet he has a childlike delight when talking about these games. It's just super refreshing and doesn't come across as very corporate to me. And I love that they did a lot of like, hey, we're going to bring this creator out, talk to them about their game, and let them kind of tell you what it's about. And it was not a playlist of YouTube videos. So I like this format a whole lot better than State of Play.
Yeah, the transitions may be cheesy and there may be some forced dialogue, but it's still better than, wow, that was great. Now let's hear. Those voiceovers aren't better.
Yeah, no, not at all. They're just as cringy to me. They may not last as long, but their impact is just as felt. Yeah, definitely. Then they showed off. They announced that there's going to be a public test for Project xCloud that's coming in October. You can sign up via a website. They're going to start sending invites out to select people who sign up. It's only for Android users to start, and then they'll expand to other devices. It's going to feature 4 games: Halo 5, Gears 5, Sea of Thieves, also known as Atlas. I'm just kidding. It's not. And Killer Instinct. So I think they're getting their hands around the messaging for xCloud a little bit better. And they really made the distinction of like, hey, there's two applications for xCloud, because I don't think they made this very clear at E3. There's the cloud streaming where, hey, anywhere you're at, you can stream from your phone. The beta is going to work on both Wi-Fi and cellular data. So that's one application. But then there is the home console server. You can play your Xbox on your phone as a like local server. So they did a little bit of better job, I thought, messaging that in the Inside Xbox than they did in at E3. But Larry, like, what are your thoughts on xCloud in terms of your excitement levels and just kind of what it means for the future of Xbox?
I'm really excited for it. I mean, primarily, right? Once I can play Halo 5 on a phone, I'll just be at work, right? On my desk, I'll have a book propped up, and I'll look like I'm reading. But I'm just playing Halo 5. That's not what I'll really do, I hope. But like, it's a really great way to capture the same like take on the road playability of the Switch. I mean, you're going to be limited by data, your connection to an internet, that kind of thing. But I'm really excited for this like point in gaming. And it makes mobile gaming a lot more interesting to be able to hook my controller up to my phone and play an actual shooter. Like, I know people play shooters on mobile, but I can't do it. Like, I'm with you. The controls are off. Like, this will be a really cool thing, I think.
And I just thought, I'm putting this thought together as I'm saying it. All right. So walk with me. We talked a lot about how like Apple Arcade is going to impact the mobile games industry. How much more is it going to impact the mobile games industry if this cloud streaming technology really takes off? And because I think it's a little bit of a Stockholm syndrome kind of deal going on with some of the mobile games that we play, and also a lot of just taking advantage of the human psyche. But yeah, if given the option to play fucking Candy Crush or Halo 5 Guardians on your phone, most people I think are going to select Halo 5 Guardians to play it, and barring the limitations that are involved in doing that. But I think between this curated experience that we're seeing in Apple Arcade, where you're paying $5 a month to play a lot of really high quality mobile games, and then the ability to play console quality video games on your phone via streaming, like, is that going to push out some of these more shitty take advantage of you style mobile games?
I think it absolutely will. Because at that point, what would you do? What other games would you want? You'd want like a fun mobile game you can play when you don't have access to data, right? And that's not those games that take advantage of you.
Yeah.
You got to be able to show that you're logging in every day and blah blah blah. And man, can't wait to just prop my phone up on the edge of my bathtub while I'm on the toilet just killing people in Halo 5.
Oh no, dude, it's even better than that. You can get one of those mounts that goes onto your controller and it keeps your phone up. That's what they show. And the cool thing about this is it's going to expand from your mobile device. You'll be able to play Project xCloud on other devices as well. And so when you're at work, you just have it up on your laptop, man, and you just have the controller under your desk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big brain plays, Larry. You need to use your noggin a little more.
Yeah. So, in a way, we may be seeing Skyrim move beyond the fridges into even more screens.
Definitely. And the cool thing about that, go ahead.
What I'm really excited about is to just see how this changes. Like, I think this is going to send big ripples through gaming. Because so much of game design is limited by current hardware, and then you're locked in for so long. And with this, like, with a lot of the power that is making the game happen being somewhere else, I think that we're going to see like the rate at which games improve, like, increase a little more rapidly. And I may be wrong, but I think this is going to be a great way to transcend the limitations of.
Yeah, I think there's also I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the Xbox One generation, there was a lot of talk about supplemental power through Microsoft Azure. And I imagine that that's going to be a runoff from Project xCloud that they just don't want to talk about now because the messaging is still a little soft around what this is. But yeah. I think you have your powerful next generation Xbox, but it's made infinitely more powerful by the fact that it can connect to the Azure servers and deliver, you know, better performance, better frame rates, better resolutions, better everything, you know?
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I think xCloud has going for it, if I'm understanding it correctly, and I'm sure if I don't, somebody's going to correct me in the comments, and that's fine. I believe Stadia requires a porting effort from developers to get their games onto Stadia. Like, you can't just send them your PC disc and they load it up and Stadia can play it. Like, I think there's an architecture that they have to build it towards. Whereas xCloud, if you build your game for Xbox, it can be played via xCloud. And that's not just Xbox One and next generation Xbox. That is Xbox 360 and Xbox games, original Xbox games as well. And so xCloud is going to have an infinitely larger library of games to choose from than Stadia just out of the gate due to the way that the system on the back end is built.
And when you pair that with Game Pass. When you pair that with Game Pass, like, this is going to be a killer service, man. Mm-hmm. And it's beginning to look like they're going to have this off the ground in a really desirable way well before anybody else does.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we'll get Stadia at the end of this year.
But I'm not sure if it's going to have as appealing a library is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And I think there's just a lot of people who don't want to hitch their wagon to the Google horse because Google has such a reputation of bailing on these kinds of projects.
Yeah. I'm in that boat. I like Google. They do things well. I don't trust them to stick with it.
Let's see. They also announced some new games coming to Game Pass. Genesis Noir, Lonely Mountains, Downhill, and Demon's Tilt are some of the indies. And then Jump Force, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, and Lego Worlds are being added to the Xbox One lineup. And then City Skylines, Saints Row 4, and Bad North and Dirt Rally 2.0 are being added on PC as well. So the library for Game Pass grows as well. Overall, though, inside Xbox, like to quote the late great Arizona Cardinals coach Danny Green, they are who we thought they were, right? This there were no big surprises that came out of inside Xbox. It was, I think they are establishing a communication rhythm moving forward to where they will be able to leverage that platform to deliver messaging from all these studios that they've acquired. But it's good to get people in the rhythm of tuning into these things now, and then start to build on them later. Inside Xbox is cool. State of Play is cool. Nintendo Directs are cool. The fact that we don't have to wait for 1 or 2 times a year to get announcements is great. And just deal with the fact that they're spread out so that you're not going to get high volumes of earth-shattering news in these things.
And on that point, it's just a matter of you need to get with the times. Mm-hmm. Like, we live in an age of constant information. There's just this constant stream of information coming out. And so these companies are going to take advantage of that and just accept that the days of E3 being the gigantic event where we learn everything like, those are just gone. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to wait till 1 week of the year to learn everything. That's got its own merits.
Yeah. All right, Larry, any parting thoughts on Inside Xbox or State of Play, anything that we've talked about tonight?
No, just I'm really excited to see what xCloud will be like.
All right. Cool.
Throwing my name in that hat. Send me my invite, friend of the show, Phil Spencer.
He was a friend of the Player 3 podcast. I assume he listens to PvA Radio all the time, but he's a busy man. He's still just patiently waiting for the next P3P episode to be uploaded.
He did finally give us Battletoads, though. So
that is true.
Mission accomplished. You're welcome, world.
That is true. Now, please, the next Fusion Frenzy.
Yes.
All right, man. Let's get out of here, though. Let's wrap it up. Who are you? Where can people find you? And what will you be tweeting about this week? I know the answer.
I'm Larry. You can find me on Twitter at StillInFlux. And it's just all political right now. And if you don't want that, do not follow me.
Oh, my name is Luke Croft. You can find me on Twitter at LukePVA. I probably won't be tweeting that much this week because when shit like what is going down in America is going down, anytime I get on Twitter, I just fall down thread rabbit holes and just read a shitload of different tweets. So I will log on possibly with the intention of tweeting, and then 45 minutes later be like, oh my gosh, how did I end up on this this French translated news thread that is talking about an angle I haven't considered yet. So don't expect much in the way of interaction with me on Twitter. So
what if Trump is the whistleblower?
Thread. Oh boy. He's just done with this presidency. He just wants to spend
70 tweet thread.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. This has been PvA Radio. We get together each and every week, and we bring the biggest gaming news stories of the week to the table. Then we have an in-depth discussion about them. Consider that your collaborative audio feature article, and here's what we want you to do with that. All right, guys? We want you to rent out some sort of ballroom, conference hall, maybe just go to your local YMCA and get a crowd of people coming into the gym, invite some news reporters, and launch your 2020 presidential bid with the campaign slogan, Kaffa, Kaffa, Kaffa. And we also want you to spam that emote in the chat. So you're going to need millions of dollars to do the first one. In order to be a viable candidate, you're also going to need to be over the age of 35 to be constitutionally eligible, and also a natural U.S. citizen. So,
and remember to vote for me in half a decade from now. Hunt. Abolish the sun.
Yes. We do this every single weeknight over here on twitch.tv/PvA Radio at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you can't catch us live, you can watch us the very next day on youtube.com/PvA Radio, or listen to us on podcast services everywhere. Tune in to the PvA Nightly Rundown at 9 p.m. on the other weeknights where we don't do this show, guys. I'm having a blast again. I'm feeling refreshed, bringing a lot of great gaming news. I'm hoping it slows down a little tomorrow and I can actually, camp out on a story for a while. We've had 2 straight days of just fucking wall-to-wall news, but it's been a blast, so come hang out for that. Until next time, though, guys, wherever you're listening to us, make sure you like, subscribe, all that. But, yeah, we'll catch you next week. We love you. Goodbye.
Why, that's the second biggest monkey head I've ever seen.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
The definition of insanity.
Watch your listening to Shortwave Radio.